Hello, this is the Happy Manifesto podcast, and I'm Henry.
And I'm Maureen.
And today we have on Helen Taylor, who is Head of Services in Adult Social Care, Hounslow Council. And she's been on our Level 7 Senior Leader Apprenticeship Programme.
I'm looking forward to this because it's really good to hear and get the feedback of how people experience our apprenticeship programme.
Hey, yes. So, Maureen, what brings you joy at work?
Well, this is actually not joy at work. This is joy out of work because I am now going on a break. One of the things that we really celebrate and really tell people to do is well-being, take a break, And
Absolutely. Yes.
It's my time to take a break. So I'm going to go away for a week and enjoy myself, dancing and sleeping.
Dancing and sleeping?
Yeah. I'm going to a carnival.
Oh.
Yes. So that's the dancing, and then I'm going to sleep for the rest of the time.
Excellent.
So what's bringing you joy, Henry, at work?
Well, what brought me joy yesterday was I had an on-site insights event, which is where people come to Happy from various different organisations, and it was fabulous event. I basically talk about what Happy does. I talk about pre-approval, the coaching, everything that Helen's talking about. I talk about choosing your boss. I talk about celebrating mistakes. I talk about dual promotion tracks where people, can manage people or do their core job. And I just love it. And they loved it too.
I was in the office at the same time and I saw everyone coming out. Chit chat. So they're talking a lot about the event, and you were gleaming, Henry.
Well, I just love that. I love talking about Happy. Okay, over to Helen. Welcome, Helen. You are one of Level 7 Senior Leader Programme Apprenticeships, and you're Head of Service for Adult Social Care in Hounslow Council. And Hounslow Council, at the beginning of this programme, were the best council in the UK. Is that right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, that is going back a few years. But thank you for having me, Henry. It's a pleasure to be here.
Excellent. So what did you get from the apprenticeship?
So the Level 7 course was a real eye-opener to me. It wasn't your typical leadership course. It talked about subjects that I could really relate to and also practice in the workplace. So, for instance, the golden thread that really runs through the Level 7 course is around coaching. And coaching is a great skill and an essential skill to have as a leader and a manager.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, it's not that valued in the workplace as it should be. So coaching in the workplace is great for staff development.
Yes, absolutely.
And innovation, and for staff to be creative. And alongside that, you need a safe environment where staff can have the courage to try new things. So the Level 7 course really strengthened my coaching styles.
Oh.
Had you ever coached before?
No.
Oh.
Right. Okay. So this was totally new and fresh to you.
Well, I had a manager about 7 years, maybe a bit longer, some while back. And she was the first manager who asked me coaching questions.
Okay.
I could see the benefits that I gained from it. So I tried to utilise it in the workplace. It is hard when you're in a high-pressured environment. Sometimes it's so easy just to say, do this. But when you have got that opportunity to stand back and ask staff, well, what is your challenge here? What does this mean to you? It's great for developing the workforce. And I've even embedded it in some terms of references and meetings that my commitment will be, I will ask coaching questions.
Oh.
Wow. And so have you put it down to your lower level managers? Have they done coaching?
The organisation actually ran commissioned some workshops on coaching last year. So a lot of managers have gone on to do that course. But I think that's a good question, Henry. And I think I do need to actually think about that more in supervision with managers, how they're using it.
Yeah. Because you're right. The key role of the Level 7 is that leaders and managers should be coaches. I mean, that is the role of the manager and the leader. It should be to be a coach, to build confidence, to ask questions, and to help people find their own solution.
Yeah, to listen more and to stay out the way.
Exactly.
I can't remember who coined that. I don't know if it was you, Henry, but it was. I really like the work of Stanier as well in his book around the coaching habit, his work as part of the Level 7 course. And the kickstart question is a question that probably my most used coaching phrase. So what's on your mind?
Oh, yeah.
And I've actually used that within team meetings. First, you get a stunned silence.
Yeah. That's what I was asking you, like, what reactions are you getting? You know?
But then if you start off on a topic or someone, you know, and I think it's important to wait for people to speak.
Yes.
Not jump in because there's a silence. Silence is sometimes about people thinking things through. Once you start the conversation, it kind of flows. That's what I found. So I use that in supervision, in meetings, and try and get away from a set agenda.
Yeah. And a one-way conversation sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And in team meetings, I can't remember who coined the phrase document debt.
Document debt?
Yeah. I think it might have been Dignan, I'm not sure, but how documents carry you. And then you do the same thing because we've always done this. So
yeah,
we always talk about health and safety in a team meeting. We always talk about this in a team meeting. Well, actually, why do we? Yeah. So I have changed. I mean, I don't actually lead that much on staff team meetings, but the managers have adopted new practices in team meetings.
I was going to say, it really sounds like you're giving permission to people to actually have that conversation and share ideas, you know, rather than, as you're saying, following the document, just going by the typical structure of usual meetings you have.
Yes. And what I did is, well, the Level 7 course allowed you to do what's called experiments. So I did an experiment where I went around different team meetings using different practices. So, for instance, using that kickstart question, what's on your mind, moving away from minutes that no one reads and doing action point.
Yes. Very good.
So agile sprints, I think. We coined them, and using liberating structures.
Oh, yes. So, tell us about that.
My favourite one is conversation cafe and 1, 2 for all.
Yeah.
So in team meetings, it's like any meetings, you have often the same people that speak up. And that's about different personalities and experience. And it's really hard sometimes to encourage the quieter staff members. And I remember being a social worker in 2002 when I was one of those people. And I think I would have really benefited from a liberating structure. So in team meetings, one of the practices is about going round, thinking about, so conversation cafe, thinking about the issues, and then each having a say. And it's important not to put people on the spot so they don't have to speak up.
Yeah. Liberating structures is one of the things we use all the time. And yeah, it is great. And do you explain to people that this is what you're doing? There's like, we're going to use a strategy called liberating structures.
Yes. And the purpose of it is around collaboration and to generate ideas and to include everyone, so everyone gets a say. The department used 1, 2 for all in some workshops. So we recently went through a CQC inspection. In preparation for that, we do some workshops with staff just to talk through some key areas. And all the workshops were done with the 1, 2 for all liberating structures. And that was to make sure that everyone participated. And we got some really good feedback from that.
Great.
You do pre-approval too, don't you? You did it in a block placement. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the Level 7 course has really allowed me to think more about trusting staff.
Yes.
Even though I have responsibility for budgets, that doesn't mean I have to make all the decisions.
Yeah.
And it's about giving people more autonomy and control in a planned environment, well, in a planned way. So one of the pre-approval pieces of work that I did is around giving the team manager responsibility to approve block placements.
And what are block placements?
Block placements are placements that the council have commissioned in usually a 5-year contract. So the funding is committed. So it seemed illogical to me that I had to make the decision whether or not the person should live there, and that actually the team manager could do that. And that's been in place now, I think, at least a year and a half. And there's no decision made that I haven't agreed with. Because of the funding structure that we work within, I have to sign off the decision. But the decision's made by the team manager. And the feedback that they provided to me was that they felt great that they were trusted to make that decision.
And that was a cost of up to 100k an annum.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also respite as well. So respite is when people go in for short-term care for the carers to have a break. I allow the team manager to make that decision on allocation. So she could approve any amount of respite.
So the feedback was that they felt trusted. And then what was different for you?
It reduced the traffic coming to the complex care forum. So it saved people's time.
Right.
And it gave me satisfaction that I had, as a leader, supported the manager to develop.
Excellent. Okay, so tell us more about psychological safety. How do you ensure a culture of psychological safety?
I think psychological safety is really important in the workforce. If you don't have psychological safety, then you're not going to get the best out of staff. So it's about, again, offering an environment of coaching, giving staff the freedom to fail. And I'm not talking about poor performance. I'm talking about people being able to make their own decisions. And sometimes that might not be the right decision, but it's something to learn from that might generate another idea. So it's really important not to shut down people's ideas because they might not work. It's about the well-being of the team. So allowing people to have difficult conversations. Just as a manager, just because someone is going to ask me something that I don't want to hear, basically, you can't do that. You have to hear what's going on and you have to hear people's views. So what we did is we looked at the work of Helen Sanderson and her team, wellbeing teams, and some of the team managers adopted a team agreement about how the team members would give each other feedback and how people would view the respected, etc. So that was a positive piece of work.
And I guess that actually implementing psychological safety is challenging because, the people aren't used to that culture. It's like showing them how it's done and hopefully they're doing the same thing back as well.
Yes. And I particularly like the work of Frederick Laloux, which I learned on the level 7 course around bringing your whole self to work.
Yes.
Yes. And being that authentic leader. And as a leader, saying when you don't know something. And, it's okay for me in my senior role to say, actually, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
How do you think we can find out this or find a solution? So it's about authenticity as a leader, being humble and being yourself to an extent.
Yeah. I love that, being humble. You don't really get to hear leaders say that, but yeah.
So how did the frontline staff respond to this? How did they respond to all that you've done in this programme?
Most of the feedback's been very positive. Some managers have been quite resistant to changes. So I've had success in different areas. But overall, it's been really positive.
You should put those managers on our level 5.
Why not? Yeah. So, Helen, tell us more about how you've been managing the change, because obviously it is challenging, but how have you done this?
I think it's about being transparent. And I think before the level 7 course, so for example, if I wanted to implement a change, I would have the change and then ask the staff to comment. But now I try and carry people along the journey with me
Uh-huh.
and get them to design the change.
Oh, wow. Can you give us an example of that?
Yes. So as a social worker, you do a lot of assessments and reviews.
Mhm.
So if someone needs a review, so they've got a service in place, such as someone going in to help them wash, etc. So social workers review that package to see if it's still meeting that person's needs. And we were using the same template for the assessment as the review, and it was making the service user repeat their story again. So I wanted to shorten it, which you can do under the Care Act legislation. But I wanted staff who were on the front line to design what that looked like. So I did a series of workshops where staff inputted, and I made sure that most people were part of it. And there was quite a few workshops. So I didn't implement the change quickly. I probably would have done prior to the level 7 course. I would have just rolled it out. But this was much more considered. It was about getting the staff values. And I think the work of William Bridges, that I learned on the course was very valuable, because when we rolled out the changes, previously I probably wouldn't have reviewed to see how the changes went. I just would have thought it was going fine.
Yeah.
But when I looked at the data, there was one team that wasn't using the new form. So it was about working with that team to see what the blockages were and what they needed to transition psychologically.
Right.
That's really interesting, because, like sometimes people do a project, not review it, something goes wrong, and they just get rid of everything rather than just actually just going to that point of where there's a problem or a challenge. So really well done. Gosh. Yeah.
Thank you.
And tell us about small leaps.
For me, change doesn't have to be big. You can do the smallest of change and make a really big difference. So for an example, every week I chair the Complex Case Forum, which is a forum for people to discuss complex cases and approve some funding packages. The long practice was managers had to be present with their staff. Yeah, and that was in place for years and years and years. But doing the course and wanting to coach more frontline staff, it made me think, why do managers come to this meeting? Why aren't frontline staff coming?
Yeah.
They're the ones that know the person. So I changed it. And this time I didn't consult. I made the changes because I thought it was the right thing to do. And I did get some resistance from some managers, and other managers were like, great, we've got more free time. But what I do allow is if a case is complex or if it's a new staff member, it's up to them. If they want to bring a manager, they can. Right. But if they don't want a manager, then they don't need one. Right. And then so it's allowed me to have more relationship as well with frontline staff. And some managers continued to attend for a while. But every time they spoke, I just politely said, I'd like to hear from the caseworker. And they stopped coming eventually.
Wow.
That small change can make a difference.
That's been brilliant. How long have you been on the level 7 course? So where are you at the moment?
So I've finished, I've completed, and I've passed.
Yay! Congratulations.
Thank you.
And now, I mean, from normally like when we do our evals, we'll say like, how confident were you at the beginning? And then at the end, how confident do you feel now? In a sense, like, where are you now that you've done this apprenticeship?
I think it's enhanced my role as a leader and my management skills significantly. Just taking a step back more and not feeling that I have to direct all decisions. It's actually, I appreciate that as a manager, I can tap into frontline staff and other managers, and I don't have to control all the decisions.
Yeah. So you're stepping back.
Yes, keeping out the way.
Yes, keeping out of the way, absolutely, yes. Okay, so tell us, what are your 3 key tips for a happy workplace?
I think one of the tips, it's like what you wrote about, Henry, creating joy at work, is that culture of freedom, responsibility and trust.
Absolutely, yeah.
2, one of our values in Hounslow Council is lead with heart, and that is something I try to do, and that really ties in with psychological safety, giving staff respect and opportunity and not punishing mistakes. I don't think we're there like happy where we celebrate mistakes. But there's certainly a learning culture. And I think building a team is to play to people's strengths. Again, I think you wrote about this, Henry. Yeah. A team is about people being different and having different abilities, different strengths. And it's about recognising the strengths and their social styles. So my social style is very much of a driver. So I'm very I like to get things done.
Right.
But, you have to appreciate that not everyone's got that same style as you.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
And that you've got to home into what their preference is.
Well, that's very significant because, as you said, part of the skills is that you're now stepping back and the driver likes to be right at the front. So really good management there, yes.
How many staff are there in the social care department?
Good question. Off the top of my head, a couple of hundred.
Right, okay.
I might have got that wrong.
Okay, so one of the questions I love to ask, Helen, is like, what gives you joy? And it doesn't have to be at work, but what's your joy?
I get a lot of enjoyment out of, I suppose it's the reason why I went into social work, is helping to improve people's lives. I think I try and make the world a better place. I know that sounds really corny, but I'm very passionate about a lot of things: animal welfare, environment, and human rights.
Perfect. Lovely. Helen, you've been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you as well, yes.
Thank you for having me, and lovely to see you again, Maureen and Henry.
Take care.
All right. Bye.
So, Maureen, how did you find that?
I really loved it. I think Helen is really brave. Actually, what I wrote down was that Helen is so bold, trying to do things differently at a top level, trying to, implement something that that people are going to be resistant to. And she kept with it, and the impact was really positive. So really well done her. Okay. But the one thing that stood out for me was right at the beginning when she talked about the kickstart question.
Yes.
And the one thing I love about that, what's on your mind?
Yes.
Beautiful. Just a way to invite people to just open up and have that conversation. So, Henry, did you hear me walking around saying, what's on your mind?
Absolutely.
So what stood out for you?
I love the pre-approval. I love the coaching as well, all that kind of thing. I love the fact that she put into practice what she did on the course. But the up to a cost of 100K per annum, I mean, that's quite a lot, isn't it?
Wow.
It's a wow. She keeps this under review as she's required to do, but she's not come across a single decision which she considered misplaced.
And she's happy to now can confidently step back.
Yes, she can step back. Absolutely. Very good. So we do various apprenticeship programs. Helen was on the level 7, which is the equivalent of an MBA. And if you pay the apprenticeship levy, it is paid for out of that. If you don't, it is 95% funded by the government. So it is £700 for a full 2-year leadership program.
Fantastic. £700, not much at all.
No.
And I'm going to just throw in there as well, level 7, level 3, level 5.
Absolutely. Level 3 for new managers, level 5 for senior managers, the global majority as well, yes.
Yes. So please check us out on the website. What's the website, Henry?
happy.co.uk.
Fantastic. And please, guys, don't forget to subscribe and to continue
getting joy at work.
Yes.